If I'm being completely honest, I am equal parts excited and intimidated to talk about today's subject, that being Generation Toys GT2 Tyrant. This is one of, I believe, IDW's designs for Megatron, where he was a stealth bomber. And this figure has been a long time coming. This was one that, when it first came out, I wanted to get it, but was still relatively new to the updated scene for collecting. Like, I just gotten back into it for like maybe a year or so. And the cost of this guy was a little bit concerning because I wasn't all that familiar with third-party stuff. And yeah, it's just something that I passed on back in the day, and then it became impossible to find. And then Generation Toy did that reissue that was just an absolutely terrible idea, where they decided, instead of, just simply reissuing the figure, they would redo all of the black plastic in translucent plastic and dye it black. So that figure has some issues, primarily with the ankles cracking because it's translucent plastic, and just such a bad idea. But after many years and a lot of patience, I was able to get a hold of a actually very good, very nicely priced for, the age and all that, version of the original figure, regular GT2 Tyrant, not the whatever they're calling. I think it's like GT3 or something like that for the other one. The main way you can tell, because they look very similar at a glance, the main way you can tell is the reissue. The wings come to a very fine point, so they come out longer and they're pretty much just a spike, as opposed to these where they are like this kind of angled bit. So that's how you can tell if you're curious. But yeah, this is the original release, and this makes me so happy. This is a figure that I wanted for so long, and I'm so glad I finally got it. And I've been wanting to make this video for a while because I got it several months ago, and I've just been holding off because it is kind of intimidating. On top of that, I was kind of worried about transforming it because, third-party figure I'm not super familiar with, but its transformation is actually really simple considering, so I don't really know what I was so worried about. I guess it was because the robot mode shins are a little bit... There's a lot to the shins, weirdly. But anyway, all of that to say, this is Tyrant, and Tyrant is extremely cool. This vehicle mode is great. I love when I've said this before, but I really love it when they do interesting, different things for Megatron. I mean, just by virtue of the fact that it's different makes it interesting, really. And Stealth Bomber, no exception. Perhaps a little bit uncharacteristic for the character, but it still is a cool alt mode. It looks really cool. I love these purple kind of energy highlights going all over the thing. That looks really great. I have seen the Reaper label set. Personally, I think it makes things look a little too busy, so I'm not going to be getting it for this guy. But this looks extremely good. I really like this. The silhouette is really nice. It's got that kind of flat flying wing shape. It actually, if you look at the underside, isn't terrible either. Like, there's definitely stuff going on here, but there's nothing that screams this turns into a robot, unless you, specifically know what you're looking for. So yeah, they even cover up the face. You can just see the top of his head tucked away in there, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to notice it. So I appreciate that. And yeah, this is basically just a fancy, very big third-party rendition of the, a deluxe that came out a while back in Generations or Thrilling 30. Same kind of principle where the tips of the wings become the fusion cannon. The transformation, not the transformation, but where the pieces go is very similar. The arms are here, the legs are here. Obviously, there's the torso. It's clever. Now, that is pretty much all I can say about this thing. It looks good, the colors are good. Again, I like these purple bits. It really helps to kind of separate things, and then you get the nice red highlights for the windows, or what qualifies windows. And these pretty cool translucent purple bits along the sides, which thankfully are not load-bearing, so I'm not too worried about the translucent pieces. But yeah, It's just a neat little, actually kind of big stealth bomber thing that, as I said, is maybe not the most Megatron-y vehicle mode, but it's cool nonetheless, and I really like it. Now, as I said before, this guy's actually kind of large. He is, his generation third-party figure, generation toy, so he is a bit on the beefy side. Pardon me for getting a wing off to the side there, but I don't really know how else to fit all of this in here. So there we've got our stable of size comparisons, and bring in more typical deluxe here. You can see that alt mode is quite big. It's like practically dinner plate sized, but obviously not shaped like a dinner plate. And for anyone who might need a reminder, if you're wondering where Rotor Storm is, I still have Rotor Storm. I've just taken him out of the rotation because at this point I feel like Hova Prime is pretty much the same height. So yeah, this is like tall deluxe, regular deluxe. Anyway, that is that, because I'm really anxious to get to the, or not anxious, really excited to get to that transformation and robot mode. So let's just chug along here, bring in the size comparison that everyone comes here to see. Here he is with the duck tank. Now, before we get into the transformation, which I'm hoping will not take too terribly long, because I did say it was relatively simple, just want to remind everyone that if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel and you want to support things monetarily, I do have a Patreon, which there will be a link to that at the end of the video, but there's also one down in the description. If you join the Patreon, I just have a single $1 tier, and that $1 a month gets you early access to new videos, as well as access to the occasional, very occasional Patreon-only video that I put out. If you'd rather support the channel in ways that don't require money, which I completely understand, you could also do the typical YouTube stuff of like, comment, share, subscribe, so on and so forth. Now to transform this guy. First thing I'm going to do is take off the wingtips. And these just slide straight up. They just pop off like that. There's a little hook tab here, a little piece there, this little spot there, a little spot there where those go on. So you just pull that up and that off to the side. Same deal here. Pop that up and off to the side. And well, actually, let's do the fusion cannon transformation now, because this is actually, I actually really like this. So you take the wingtips and you sandwich them together, as you might expect, just like so. Then you want to take this piece here and flip that back on both sides. Extend these pieces here, and they will click into place. And then you want to slide back these pieces, and they will click into place. And that gives you the fusion cannon. That's actually a really cool looking fusion cannon, but we'll see that more in a bit. Now for the main event. So first thing, I'm going to take this little piece here, fold that down for both of those. And now these flaps rotate around and will peg in down here. There's actually a spot for that hinge to go to. So you just bring this around and that will peg into place. And here. And this step, you don't really need to do this for the transformation. You could just leave it like this in vehicle mode, but it does cover up some of that robot stuff. Now, I'm going to take these bits here, these pieces here, and these will unpeg from along here, as well as up here. And that flap will come out. That's actually, when you get it lined up, it pegs in really well. Come on. All right. Thankfully, I kept the spudger on hand for this, so it's gonna. There we go. So untap that, swing that up, and there you can see the two tabs, and there are two slots there for that to go in. So fold this up and rotate this in. This piece you can kind of rotate to give yourself the clearance. Fold this down, bring this down, and then this piece actually slides forward a bit, like that. That will make like the side of the thigh. And same deal here. Pop this up. And I neglected to show it on the other tab or other flap, but come on. Let go. Let go. There we go. But there is another hook tab there that tabs in right up there. So fold that around on a double hinge. So put that around, and then take this and fold that back, slide that forward. And there we go. Now we want to unplug this whole section here from up here. You can kind of see on this side there are... Oh, okay, it was covered up by these. If we pop this flap out of the way, you can kind of see there's little tabs here that sit in here. So that's what we want to disconnect. So just wiggle that out, and then this will swing out and down. Don't really know why it doesn't seem to give me the clearance. It went in just fine. There we go. So swing that out. Swing this around like so. And same deal on this side. Same deal on this side. Keep it on camera. Unplug it and get this wiggled out. Seriously don't know what I'm doing wrong here, that like this isn't... It feels like I'm flexing plastic, and I don't think it should feel like I'm flexing plastic. I'm trying to see if maybe rotating this helps, but no. So pull that out. I'm probably doing something wrong, but anyway, rotate that around, and there we've got things all separated. So for the lower body, I'm going to rotate the leg forward, straighten out the knee, fold this little spike out, straighten out the knee, and the spike will keep up for now. Next, you want to pop this section open. I'm just going to use the spudger for that. So pop that open and flip it all the way out. Take the foot, flip that out, and then you want to rotate the toe 180 degrees, just the toe. And this can come down the rest of the way, and then this piece that becomes the heel can flip out. So not going to flip it out all the way. Next, this is where a lot happens with the shins. So there's this panel back here. You flip that out, and then there's another panel that you want to flip out. So it starts looking like this, as opposed to there it is all scrunched up. There it is unfolded. And now this is a thing that I missed the first time when I got this. There's actually a double hinge up here that allows you to hinge this entire shin piece forward. And that kind of fills out the leg more. And you can just kind of leave that forward a bit for a moment, because there's this added strut back here on this panel that you fold down. And you fold this in, and this piece here will sit inside of a little, there's like a little hole cavity right here that will essentially, it keeps the shin from shifting backwards without, if you don't want it to, which is great. It's a great design approach. It's just a little tricky to to figure out if it's lined up, but it should, as long as you fold that out all the way and keep it relatively straight, it should be fine. The cavity itself is not like super narrow, so there is some wiggle room, and once it's in place, if you like squeeze this, you can see this is not going to get pushed back. Okay, it just got pushed back up to the top. That's on me. But yeah, it's a neat design to give it that kind of strut, to give it some extra support. But I'm just gonna shift that back to the front and close that back up. There we go. And now fold that knee pad all the way forward, and that's it. And just straighten out the foot, straighten out the heel, and there is one leg. And the other leg is the exact same process, so I'm going to do that one a little bit faster, hopefully. Just pop that out, swing that back, swing out the foot, and rotate the toe 180 degrees. Bring that down more. Hinge out the shin, fold out the first panel, fold out the second panel, fold out the strut, bring it in, close it up, and bring this back. This is not lining up quite right for some reason. There we go. So that, I think, this is a little bit tricky. There we go. I hadn't pushed that all the way forward. Then close this back up. And I think that's all. Lined up. Looks like it's all lined up. Okay. Bring that foot thrust the way forward. Bring back the heel. Bring back the heel. There we go. And pull that little knee pad forward. And there we go. The legs are all taken care of, and now we can move on to the more complex part. You stay. All right. Now, separating this bit is a little tricky, but you want to unplug this piece here. You can see how that tabs in right there, and you kind of wiggle that out here too. And now you want to separate this in the middle, and this is something that was a little bit tricky and scary to do going into vehicle mode, because like I said, I'm just not super versed in transforming this guy, and I'm really afraid of breaking something. It doesn't seem like it's going to break, but it's just the way this comes together is a little bit alarmingly solid. Just keep these separated and try to wiggle this apart. There we go. That wasn't too bad. And pull that out. Bring that out. Okay. And now these struts here, you just want to kind of extend that out to give yourself some more room to work. And with that extended, we can take this piece here, and this plugs in right here. So I'm going to unplug this. You can see there are these tabs, little pegs right there that tab in there. So bring that down. Take these pieces on the side here and fold them out. And bring this down, not like all the way down, you just kind of want to fold it forward like this, because that gives you the room you need to rotate this piece around 180 degrees. Now with that done, you can also take care of these little pieces in here, these little silver pieces. Those fold out. Not sure why that's sticking. There we go. So those fold out. This whole assembly now hinges down. And these, it's hard to show, but there are these little tabs on the side of this piece here that these will tab over. And that kind of keeps them from getting pushed in. And that will fill out the midsection. These pieces can also come up to further fill out the midsection. And with all that done, this was up here, now it accordions down, and then these pegs here at the top, not the bottom, will peg into that spot where the other pegs were pegged in. So peg all that together. And there we go. Now we've got a midriff. Almost there. So I'm going to rotate these out of the way. Want to get these kind of folded out just a bit for clearance so that we can fold this down a little bit and fold this piece out. This piece is where the head's attached to. The head sits like this. For vehicle mode, you want to accordion it out on this double joint all the way. Now, this, before we start doing this, we want to also take care of these pieces. These sections split, and there's a little silver piece here that flips up. I'm going to need the spudger for this too. Come on. Come on, there we go. That flips up, and this comes back in, and this will tab in to here, but we don't want to do that just yet because there's actually a thing it has to tab over along here at the same time. So it's a lot of like, it's a little tricky getting some of these things lined up, but it's totally doable and totally worth it because this figure looks incredible. But yeah, it is a little bit of an involved transformation, but as I said, it is actually pretty intuitive. Okay, so now we can take this, and these bits here will tab in here, and you just want to kind of fold this in so that this whole thing comes together. And it is, again, a little tricky to show on camera, but bring all that in, line it up, bring this, get these kind of backing out of the way again, bring this back around and line all of that up so that it can peg in. Or maybe it'd be better to do the other thing first. So we're going to do that. So instead of that, we're going to hinge this assembly back and bring this down, and this hook tab goes over this little divot here. So I'm going to line that up and push that in and peg this in here. And that should theoretically get all of this lined up. Why are you not? There we go. Not sure why it wasn't going over the thing, but it is now. Okay. And hinge this out. Get that. Make sure this is folded out all the way. Get that lined up and tapped in, and this will come back and sit over the strut. Come on. Why are you fighting me? It's all in this thing, getting this properly lined up down here. Okay, come on. Come on, you were just in place. I think some of it too is that the hinges are rather stiff. Like some hinges are stiff and some aren't, so it doesn't quite want to cooperate. Here I was all like, oh, this is going to be easy. This should come in. And there we go. Oh, okay, I see what's happening here. There's also a little tab thing back here. There we go. That's what was giving me problems. There's like a little tab on this piece that needs to go into this piece, and I was not getting that lined up. So that's on me, as it always is. So with that all done, now we can take this and peg the struts into the midsection here. Get that all situated and tabbed in. That feels like it's secure. Take this piece and this will fold down and peg in there. And that reveals the chest. I put a little Decepticon logo on there that you can barely see, but it is there. This piece slides down, and now the robot mode head piece, there's like a little tab here that sets in there. It's just on the one side though, so it's not the most secure connection. Like this is fine, but like it can pop out. So when you're moving the head, you just want to be mindful of that. But there we go. There is the upper body. Now all we have left is the arms. My goodness, this transformation has taken a lot longer than I was expecting. I am sorry. Okay, now this is very Generations / whatever Megatron, but I'm going to unplug this from here and bring it down. This piece here will hinge up and away. It's on a double hinge, so it starts up here and it's going to end up down further, but for now we're leaving it up partially because we want to take this piece and untab that. It also helps to bend the elbow because that gives you the clearance to bring this open, to open this up the rest of the way. But bend that back and then flip out the fist. This comes back in and tabs in to lock that together. And now this piece, you can kind of see the double hinge in there. That tab settles in there. Bring that up, tab that in. And there we have one arm done. And since that's the fusion cannon arm, we're just going to bring in the fusion cannon because it's Megatron. This is not an accessory, it's a requirement. And there's these bits come together to make a tab, and there are 2 different spots you can tab this into. This will not work on the front one because of these tabs up here, so under the back one. And just push that in, and there you go. There is the fusion cannon. Now for the other arm, it's the same deal. You just untab this, bring it down, rotate this forward, and we'll bend the elbow now. And don't worry, I did not forget about the shoulders. But do that, untab this and hinge it out a bit so that we can open this door. Open this door. Come here, Spudger. Well, this is really not wanting to unpeg. Why are you not wanting to unpeg? I'm gonna have to pull out a freaking screwdriver. There we go. Okay. Unpeg that. Rotate fist around and bring that back in to close it off. Hinge this forward all the way to bring that in line. And almost done. Last thing is the shoulders. You want to take this piece and flip that up. And there's this little piece in here. You can flip that out and around and then bring this back down. And that fills in the shoulder. You don't have to flip it out if you don't want to, but it is part of the transformation. So that. And after all of that, that was way more involved than I intended or wanted it to be. But after all of that, there is Generation Toy Tyrant in robot mode. And, as I said, this figure is glorious. It's fantastic. I love this thing. It's, yeah. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about the way this whole thing comes together that looks fantastic. The transformation, as I said, is actually fine. I was just being kind of silly about it, but it's also, more difficult to do on camera. But this looks incredible. The proportions are great. The overall design is just solid. I love how so much of the bomber is just incorporated into the robot mode. The entire torso assembly is fantastic. It's a little bit awkward with the struts and everything, yes, but the results are absolutely worth it. I love how this expands out and gives you this venting, and I really love this whole thing, how this comes down and folds down and reveals this kind of hexagonal gem thing. Not gem, but this little thing there. It's incredibly cool. I also love the little spiky bits on the forearms that they gave him, and the fusion cannon design is super cool. I will say the only downside to this design and the fusion cannon being the wings is that the fusion cannon doesn't stand out as much because of the way this is designed, because this pretty much matches this and what's going on up here and all that, so it doesn't differentiate itself too terribly much. But like that's fine, I feel. I kind of feel like it's that is just how the design works. But it kind of would have been cool if this could somehow do something to differentiate itself a little bit more. But I get why it didn't. But yeah, this is so cool, and there's like all this nice silver that's revealed now. And I love that they also incorporated some of the purple into the silver bits to really drive home that cohesive color scheme, which I think, again, kind of is more owing to the original design than the toys specifically. But it does look incredibly good. And it is almost perfectly clean. The only problem is this stuff here. You just got this hanging off the back, and you really can't do anything with it. You can fold this down if you want, and kind of fold these back around, and that cleans up the back a little bit and makes them not stick out as far, but then you've got this happening, which isn't the worst, but it does kind of disrupt that silhouette around the midriff. So, I don't know. There's not a whole lot you can do with this. I wish they had figured out some other alternative than what we got with this particular bit of kibble management, but it's not the worst. It just could have been better. But yeah, there's like lots of really nice coloring and detailing now that's been revealed. Like the shins, I love the layered design of the shins. Like the silver is great, but then you also have the purple here, this darker gray / gunmetal in here, and like this gold design here, coppery gold that almost looks like machinery tucked behind armor plating. That's extremely cool. The knee pads look neat, that like carry over that purple line work, but also have the translucent purple in there. The hips have lots of nice color differential with like the silver and the black and the purple. And of course, there's everything I said about the midsection. Like, look at the just layering of detail and sculpting on this entire section. It's so good. The only thing that kind of takes it down a little bit is the prominent hinges right here, which I know that like there are some complaints that people have about that, and I get it. I also am kind of like, well, that's a shame. But thing is, it doesn't really stand out when you're looking at the figure as a whole because you've got so much else going on in here. I feel like your eye is drawn more around here and like up here. You're not really noticing this. And these hinges are a dark enough color that they kind of blend into a lot of the dark plastic around it, like right in here and right up in here. So I just don't think it's that big a deal. It is slightly disappointing, but it's not that big a deal. But yeah, the sculpting is just so good. I really, really love the newly revealed silver detailing in the chest and that hexagon design there with that Decepticon logo that I put on that you can barely see. I might take that off and go with like a white outline instead. Yeah, this is so cool. I love this figure, and I was so happy to get a hold of it, and I'm so glad it did not disappoint. I also really love how you've even got this really nice silver and purple, like the sculpting looks great, and also the paintwork looks great, and this is just flaps that fill out the side. Those didn't even need to be there, really. They're not structural, they're just there to, beef out the torso so he's not hollow looking. That is super cool, and like you also get a lot of painted and molded detailing in the arms here, like the black and silver going on up here, or gunmetal and silver, whatever. The coppery gold and gunmetal-y gray or whatever, the purple, like it's so cool. It is a wonderful, wonderful design that is realized extremely well in plastic form, which is unfortunate because this thing is so difficult to find in this state. Because your choices are either wait forever in the hopes that you can get a hold of this particular version, or try and get the reissue that is prone to breakage out of the box. Like it's not even, oh, be careful, it might break. It's, you're lucky if it doesn't arrive broken. But anyway, here we've got the face, and that is definitely Megatron. I like that this design is like, it's clearly not the same Megatron in terms of like design. Oh, actually, there. I missed that step. These little flaps fold down and reveal a little bit of extra venting up there. They don't actually like peg in back here or anything, they just sit. So they're easy to miss and they're not exactly essential, but those are details that can be flipped down. But anyway, I like how this head is like clearly not G1 Megatron, even though it's like, I think it's supposed to be the same character. I don't follow the comics, but I'm assuming. But I really like how, even though it's definitely not G1 Megatron, it still hits a lot of the same notes. Like the basic head shape is very similar, except now you've got this kind of point at the top of the head. Like the overall sculpting and shape and silhouette of the helmet or head is pretty much G1 Megatron. The black looks really good with that bright silver face. I like that he has this kind of chin strap thing going on now to add a little bit more visual detail to the face. And of course, the purple highlights going through the head that kind of looks like they have an M up there, which is silly, but I love it. And yeah, it looks good. I even love the little pointy nose they gave him. I don't know why I like that so much, but yeah, it looks like Megatron. And being a expensive third-party figure, there is also a little switch back here that it's a little bit stiff on mine, but if you give that a proper flick, it turns on some lights in the eyes. And if we get this kind of up and out of the way, you can better see just how cool that is. Like the nice bright eyes. I really like that. Though I am contemplating painting them so that they can still be seen when the lights aren't on. And in my experience, if I paint the eyes for something like this, you can't, like, you can see them when the lights are off, but they don't prevent light from coming through when you turn the lights on, which in my mind is the best of both worlds. Without them turned on, you can still make out the eyes because of how, the shadows work, and they're, even though the helmet is black, where the eyes go is like so much more recessed that the shadows really make them stand out as eyes, even if they look a little bit dead and lifeless. But at the same time, it's Megatron. I feel like, I don't know, it just makes him look cold and calculating and angry with the eyes to be, blackened like that. So I'm okay with it. Now, for the articulation. The articulation on this guy is pretty okay also. As you saw, the head can rotate 360 degrees. You also get up and down motion, a lot of down, which I appreciate, and pretty decent up too. It's not on a ball joint though, so you don't get any side to side. The shoulders can go all the way around. The arms can go out to about here before this starts hitting into stuff, but as you probably noticed earlier, if you bring this up, you can actually bring the arm out more. And this doesn't even disrupt what's going on up here, so I appreciate that. There's also, this is kind of like a double hinge, so you can bring it up on that upper hinge to make it look a little bit more natural. Because if you use the lower hinge to bring this up, then it looks like the shoulder's down here. And if you use the upper hinge, then it looks like the shoulder's actually up here. So that works. The arm, there's a bicep swivel. You get a really surprisingly nice elbow bend that goes, not all the way, but pretty substantial. The wrists, I'm just going to fold this out of the way for the sake of being able to show it, but you don't have to move this out of the way. It's just with this pegged in here, you can see that there's just a lot going on up here that gets in the way of just reaching the fist. So with this kind of up and out of the way, you can see that the wrists do rotate. You get movable fingers. The last three are on their own hinge, and the index finger is on a separate hinge and has a separate knuckle. So kind of a standard Masterpiece style setup. And then also you can do this. I don't entirely know why, but I don't hate it. It has no purpose for transformation or anything like that, but that's cool. And it also does kind of get the fist out of the way of what's going on up here, so that may be why they did that. But yeah, pretty decent arm articulation. The waist can rotate. You can pull these out of the way to get... no. Okay, those actually do not matter. So what's going on here is this piece here is whacking into where these are actually attached to the waist. So that's all the waist swivel you're going to get. It's not terribly, like, it's not super duper dynamic, but it's expressive enough, which, you know, that's fine. The hips can also, I don't know, it's just ridiculous to me how there's even like a little bit of sculpted and painted detail right in there. That's ridiculous. Anyway, the hips can go forward to about 90 on ratchets, as you can hear, and back to about 90, and go out on friction hinge to not quite 90, but still pretty decent. You get a swivel just above the knee, which is fine. I understand they probably didn't want to break up the sculpt here, and so this is fine. And it's way better to have it above the knee than below it. I hate when they only do thigh swivels below the knee. That is the worst. But yeah, so there's that. The knee can bend to a little under 90. You can give it like one extra click to about 90, but that doesn't really feel like it's meant to do that. But still pretty decent. You can also go forward a little bit if you wanted to do that. And then for the foot, you do not get any ankle rotation, but you can move it up and down as part of the transformation. And you do get ankle tilt in addition to the toe tilt, but I don't really think you need the toe tilt. You could just use the ankle tilt, but it can give you a little bit more just for the look of the posing if you want to do that. So yeah, articulation on this guy, pretty good. It's, you know, I hate to say it for many reasons, mostly because it makes me feel ancient, but it's an older third-party toy, so it's not like, you know, Mastermind Creations dynamic, but for what it is, it's totally, like, it totally gets the job done. I really appreciate it for that. Trying to figure out how to orient this light now. Okay. But yeah, extremely cool figure. I love this thing. And as I said, I'm just super thrilled to have it because it's such a... I always really like this Megatron design, and I just really like the look of this figure, and I'm glad to finally have it after all this time. Now, the robot mode is also pretty big, as you can see. Doing our typical size comparisons here, you can see just how large this becomes. It's I don't know if this counts as masterpiece scale or not, but it is definitely not what I guess most people refer to as chug scale or mainline scale or whatever. He's huge. He's like twice the height of a deluxe, if not more. And I'm okay with that. He's not like prohibitively huge, but he's substantial. Like he's not he's not mega tank huge, which I appreciate. But since he is a Generation toy figure, I got to bring in my one other Generation toy figure for a comparison. I no longer have, and have not had for some time, their Optimus Prime, but I do have their Nemesis Prime, because of course I do. So here is how Tyrant holds up, or stacks up, stands up, whatever, to Op-X. I think they still call this guy Op-X. But yeah, there is how those two look together height-wise. I still absolutely love this, too. This is good. It's a shame, though. I've been hearing that like more modern Generation toy figures have been a little bit, let's be generous and say hit or miss in terms of their quality control and plastic quality. Like I wanted to get their hotspot, not their not their defensor, just their hotspot. But I've heard so many bad things about that thing that it's just like, nah, I'll pass. But anyway, let's do a couple more Megatrons. So here he is with Legacy Armada Megatron. So he's way bigger and beefier than a leader, a current modern leader. And because we're looking at IDW-ish Megatrons, here he is with Minor Megatron from Legacy with repro labels, which, yeah, this quick aside, the repro label set for this guy is fantastic. Just look at this. This is so good. It is so good. I love this set. This figure is great too. I really like the figure, but like this repro label set sets it off so nicely. But anyway, there is how he stacks up to a modern-ish Voyager. Artfire was a modern-ish Voyager, but yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I think Artfire might actually be a newer mold than this Megatron, if we're not counting remolds. Whatever. But yeah, that's how that works. And finally, for the most important size comparison of them all, here is Generation Toy Tyrant with the Duck Tank. And that'll do it for Generation Toys GT2 Tyrant. As I've said, I don't think I can praise this figure from my own like personal take on this whole thing enough. It has been like, the best way I can think to describe it is if you see something that you really want and you've wanted it for a while and you keep thinking, man, it's going to be so cool when I finally get my hands on it. But then you also have that expectation of, you know, well, it's never going to live up to what I'm thinking, so I'm inevitably going to be a little disappointed when I get it. But then you get the thing, and it's not only not disappointing, it actually manages to surpass the expectations that you had for it. That's what this is for me. Like, this has just been amazing, and it made me so happy when I got this thing and started messing with it, and it makes me extremely happy still to see him on the shelf. It's just such a cool design and such a solid implementation with a little bit of, you know, fiddliness with the transformation with like clearances and stuff like that, but that could also be me doing things wrong. Like, it's really hard to say for sure, because like I haven't transformed this thing that many times. I just really like having him on the shelf and think he looks cool. But anyway, that's enough of that. That has been my look at Generation Toy GT2 Tyrant, specifically the original version, not the reissue with the horrible translucent plastic and the super pointy wings. So, that's what I think. What do you all think of this guy, or that reissue that I still think is probably universally considered a bit disappointing, at least in comparison to what came before? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And, well, for now at least, that's it for the overly complicated videos that I was planning on making. So I'm hoping that means I can churn through slightly faster, or at least slightly less intimidating ones in the future. So, yeah, here's to finishing out 2023 with not necessarily a bang, but with at least just a fairly consistent track record. I want to stick with the 2 videos a week thing, and I want to be ready for that top 10 of 2023 video that I plan to make at the end of the year. I want to be good and ready, and we'll see how that all goes. See you then.